Communications Incorporated. Good afternoon and welcome to King's News Room 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our world. Today is Thursday, July 17, 2025, and I'm Shemon Dia presenting. In the headlines, 10 and several other civil society organizations staged enough protest in Morovia, with huge number of protesters amidst tense security measures and police barricade of major areas. Former ruling party Congress for Democratic Change warns against police brutality. CDC National Chairman Antonio Lord Janako expresses lack of confidence in the National Police, calls for immediate dismiss of police RG Gregory Cole. And also in the news, Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustin Gaffon says there will be a time that things will get very difficult in Liberia due to huge economic challenges as he acknowledges inflation. Away from home, the United States has deported 5 people who were described as criminal illegal aliens to the southern African kingdom of Eswatini. Republicans in the U.S. Senate have said they will spare the U.S.-backed HIV/AIDS program PEPFAR from cuts amid the larger effort to reduce government spending. It was a news bulletin. Voices of those making the news at our package. We'll take a short break to be right back. Welcome back and thanks for being there at this juncture with John Sam Andrews with the news bulletin.
Solidarity and Trust for New Day and several other civil society organizations. Enough is enough protests in Morovia with dozens of peaceful protesters assembling. The protesters have received several endorsements from different groupings, including motorcyclists, student groups, market women, and it's aimed at calling on the government attention on things the protesters believe run contrary to good governance. Lead campaigners of the peaceful protests have accused the government of mismanagement of state resources, poor governance, political witch hunt, among others. Stand chairman and lead campaigner of the protest, Molba Molu, has since affirmed that the protest organizers are committed to conducting the event peacefully. They urge state security forces to ensure the protection of the protesters. Meanwhile, the Liberia National Police and other state security apparatuses have barricaded the grounds of Capitol Hill and the Executive Mansion, declaring those areas as no-go zones. Dozens of armed state security officers have been posted at various points, particularly at the headquarters of the former ruling Congress for Democratic Change, the Executive Mansion, and Capitol Building, among others. The police were earlier seen spraying what is believed to be water around the Capitol Building and the Executive Mansion route. Former ruling party Congress for Democratic Change has issued a stern warning to Unity Party-led government to avoid brutalizing Liberians who have gathered today, July 17, for a peaceful protest. The lead opposition party also called for the immediate dismissal of Liberia National Police Inspector General Gregory Coleman for his alleged incompetence, adding that the recent alarming transformation of the police force into a force known for public nuisance under the pretense of training for the July 17 raises serious concern. Following the release of an official press statement about the July 17 protest, CDC National Chairman Anthony at Lord Jangako, in an interview with King's FM, said the arbitrary abduction of individuals believed to be members of the protest undermines the legitimacy of the permit granted. The Congress for Democratic Change, in a statement, strongly expressed that any endeavor to suppress the citizen rights to assemble is an affront to the Republic and will be recorded as a profound betrayal, adding that it is the right of every Liberian to gather, express, and peacefully assemble in is guaranteed by the Constitution. Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustin Kwangafwa has acknowledged Liberia's tense economic challenges, adding that the country could likely experience tougher challenges due to inflation and other factors. Minister Gafwan, who appeared on state radio Wednesday, noted that the country's tense economic challenges are as the result of using aid cut, stating that although the government strived to stabilize it, the aid cut hugely affected the first quarter of 2025. Minister Gafwan disclosed that there will be time the Liberian economy will face more turbulence due to what he called buffeted challenges confronting the government. There are reports of check bouncing, months of delayed salary payment due to lack of money in the government's consolidated account to honor right workers' salaries, something the finance minister did not provide clear information about. At the same time, the minister issued a stern warning to former Finance and Development Planning Minister Samuel Tuer over what he termed smear campaign against him regarding the COVID-19 relief fund provided by the World Food Program. Minister Gafwan challenged the former finance minister to produce documentary evidence linking him to the alleged misappropriation of COVID-19 relief fund provided by the World Bank. Dozens of Liberians in different parts of the country have expressed strong rejection of the Ministry of Health proposed service fees at public health facilities. Recently, the Ministry of Health announced the government's proposed policy, which require payments for services at public health centers across the country. The government's proposal, titled Community Revolving Drug Fund and Cost Sharing Scheme, required patients, including old folks and babies, to pay fees for medical services provided at government-run health facilities. Services expected to be affected by the policy are registration, hospitalization, feeding, death and birth certificates, medical tests, and various screenings, among others. Liberians have expressed opposition to the new policy, describing it as unfair, pointing out severe economic challenges facing the citizens, adding that the new fees at government-run facilities is a means of denying poor Liberians healthcare service. Majority of Liberians, precisely as those residing in rural slum and underdeveloped areas, lack adequate means to afford their medical costs and other social services due to high unemployment rate. The Liberian government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has announced plans to construct 8 agricultural mechanization centers across the country as part of efforts to boost the agriculture sector. A mechanization center focuses on providing farmers with access to machinery and related services to improve agriculture productivity. Making the disclosure in Tottenburg, Brrom County during the celebration of International Cooperative Day, Deputy Minister for Planning and Development at the Ministry of Agriculture, David Akwe, said 5 counties have been selected to initially benefit from the construction of the mechanization centers. He named Lofa, Nima, Bong, Mangibi, and Masuratu counties as the selected counties. Minister Akwe explained that such center will be equipped with various types of agricultural machinery, including tractors and other essential farming implements, adding that the tools are intended to ease the workload of farmers and improve productivity. Political analyst and general manager of King's 88.5, Anthony at Law Ibrahim Godson William, has endorsed the July 17 protest organized by Solidarity and Trust for New Day. In a statement posted on his Facebook page, The top Liberian journalist described the protest as a genuine expression of public frustration over national issues. According to him, contrary to the 2019 June 7th protest, which he said was politically motivated and led by politicians, the July 17th protest, organized by ordinary Liberians and civil society organizations seeking seeking reform in Liberia's governance and economic system. Anthony at Law Ibrahim Wayan further clarified that the protest is intended to promote, not to promote any individual or group to political prominence, but rather to hold the government accountable for its promises to the Liberian people. He stated that the protest purpose is to compel the government to address long-standing concerns, including poverty, unemployment, corruption, and lack of basic social services. The House of Representatives has ratified the protocol on the establishment of the African Court of Justice and Human Rights. House Speaker Richard Kuhn disclosed that the instrument has been forwarded to the Senate for concurrence and subsequent approval by Joseph Boakai. Speaker Kuhn made the disclosure at the opening of a one-day dialogue of state and non-state actors on the promotion of the ratification of the protocol of the African Court on Human and People's Rights in Monrovia. Remarking during the program, the chairman of the Independent National Commission on Human Rights, Councillor Dempster Brrom, reaffirmed the Commission's commitment in the defense of human rights at national and continental levels. A group under the banner, Liberia Independent Elder Council for Peace and Reconciliation, has called on organizers of the July 17th protest to uphold the principles of democracy by balancing their right to free expression with a sense of national responsibility. Speaking to journalists on Tuesday in Painesville, the Council Secretary General Edwin Gbogbo acknowledged the constitutional right of citizens to protest, but urged demonstrators to ensure that their action do not infringe on the rights and freedoms of others. And a two-day lessons learned session on the 2025 Nimba County senatorial by-election has kicked off in Ganta, Nimba County. Representative by-election in Nimba County. The session, which was organized by the Monitoring and Evaluation Session, is intended to analyze successes and challenges, as well as gathering experiences from key sessions that were actively involved with the by-election. At the opening of the event, NECO chairperson, Councillor Tiplaris, admonished the staff to work together for the smooth operations of the commission. The session, which is sponsored by NEC, is being attended by commissioners, deputy executive directors, directors and deputies, as well as magistrates and assistants from Nimba County.
Seven Juice with the news bulletin. The news bulletin is a regular feature on King's Newsroom. A reminder you're listening to King's Newsroom for 5 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, in our one word. Stories we follow in this afternoon stand and several other civil society organizations staged enough is enough protest in Monrovia with huge number of protesters released tense security measures and police barricades of major areas. Former ruling party Congress for Democratic Change warns against police brutality. CDC National Chairman Antonio Jangapo expresses lack of confidence in the Liberia National Police, calls for immediate dismissal of police RG Gregory Cuomo. And also in the news, Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustin Gafuan says there will be a time when things will get very difficult in Liberia due to huge economic challenges as he acknowledges inflation. Away from home, the United States has deported 5 people who he described as criminal illegal aliens to Southern African Kingdom of Eswatini. Republicans in the U.S. Senate have said they will spare the U.S.-backed HIV/AIDS program F5 from court and made a larger effort to reduce government spending. We'll take a break to be back with voices of Lagos. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Former ruling party Congress for Democratic Change has issued a stand warning to the Unity Party-led government to avoid brutalizing Liberians intended to gather for the July 17 peaceful protest. The lead opposition party also called for the immediate dismissal of the Liberian National Police Inspector General, Colonel Gregory Coleman, for alleged incompetence, adding that recent alarming information of the Liberian National Police into a force known for public nuisance under the pretense of training for the July 17 protest raises serious concerns. Following the release of an official press statement about the July 17 protest, CDC National Chairman Anthony Jankako, in an interview with Kings FM, via mobile phone, said the arbitrary abduction of individuals believed to be members of the protest undermines the legitimacy of permit granted.
So this statement is intended to call the attention of the Unity Party government of President Boakai to ensure that Liberians will be coming out tomorrow to exercise their democratic constitutional right to peaceful protest, peaceful assembly is respected. We respect the government because it's the right of all Liberians, including seditionists, who have decided to rally and assemble tomorrow to protest against various actions of the government is their right, and we expect the government of Liberia to ensure, the Liberian National Police to ensure that these Liberians are fully protected, their rights are respected.
Do you have any confidence in terms of the Liberian National Police doing what is right?
So we do not have confidence in the Liberian National Police because the Liberian National Police have been very brutal, and tomorrow is another test to the government and to the Liberian National Police because the Liberian people have the right to peacefully assemble. And so tomorrow when Liberian people assemble to protest in line with the Constitution, Article 17, we expect the government of Liberia, the Liberian National Police, and the national security apparatus to accord these Liberians all the necessary protection under the law. All of the transgressions, all of the wrong things happening across the government. You see the hardship, you see the harassment, peaceful citizens, you see the witch hunting of former government officials, you see people were killed in Kinjal. Out here, I was manhandled and assaulted by the police. All of these things have made Liberians to say, oh, they are assembling tomorrow to show to the government that it has an obligation to respect the rule of law. And so we defend and protect the rights of those Liberians who will be assembling tomorrow. And we expect the government to ensure that these Liberians are accorded the highest level of protection as required by the Constitution.
The party is calling on the government to ensure that the rights of protesters are respected on tomorrow. Is there any call, from the party to the protesters as well in terms of conducting themselves?
Indeed, if we read the release is very clear. Call on Liberians who will be assembling tomorrow to do so within the confines of the law, like they have always done. The Liberian people are not violent people. To the
The CDC, the national chairman, at the same time dispelled rumors of the party organizing a protest, emphasizing that the CDC would never hide behind any civil society group if it wants to protest.
We have got zero fear. If we are organizing a protest, we'll be very clear. So I've got no fear because as a political party, we do have the constitutional right to do so. June 7 protest of 2019 was fully supported by the Unity Party and all the opposition then. So we have nothing to fear as a political party. So the CDC is not hiding behind stand or anything. It's the right of stand. It's the right of all those who are organizing the protest to organize a protest. It is the right of all Liberians, including members of the CDC, to attend our protest. So we are calling on the government to respect that right. And we, as a political party, as a national political party, the largest opposition, will defend the right of citizens who are assembling tomorrow to protest against the government and the many wrongful actions in the country. So we are not hiding behind stand. This is not a protest that has been organized by CDC. No, to the contrary, it's a protest that has been organized by stand and other civil society organizations and backed by other youth wing and women league of political parties. And we want to call on the government to respect that. The day the CDC is organizing its own protest, that announcement will be made. So we call on all Liberians who are assembling tomorrow. It's your right to do so in a peaceful manner, in a non-violent manner. And we call on the police. These are not troops from a foreign country. You are amassing and making hold of comments, making threats against them. So we already see premeditation in the police. And we want to caution the government, we want to caution the Inspector General. Our video is even calling for his removal because he has demonstrated his unfitness to lead the Liberian National Police. So we want to say the Liberian people have got the right to assemble tomorrow, and they are doing so. We fully defend that right. We show them and to protect that right. And we call on the government to ensure that they are protected. We call on all Liberians have no fear, but the arms are in the hands of the police. Those arms are intended to protect you, not to harm you. And so tomorrow we'll all be looking out. We call on ECOWAS, we call on the United Nations, we call on the U.S. government, we call on all international partners.
He's CDC National Chairman Anthony Atlaw Janga Cole. Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustin Gaffwan has acknowledged Liberia's intense economic challenges, adding that the country could likely experience tougher challenges due to inflation and other factors. The finance minister, who appeared on state radio on Wednesday, noted that the country's tense economic challenges are the result of USAID aid cut, stating that although the government strived to stabilize it, the aid cut hugely affected the first quarter of 2025. Minister Gaffwan firmly disclosed that there will be a time the Liberian economy will face more turbulence due to what he called purported challenges confronting the government.
Because when we are looking at things, we're looking at things generally. We know that people have been left behind, and our duty is to work tooth and nail to make sure that those that are left behind are accommodated. So by and large, we've been buffeted with some challenges, and people expected, especially the first half of the year, the first quarter. You heard about some of the turbulence that came because of huge aid cut withdrawals. There were people who predicted an apocalyptic scenario, but we've kept the economy going, and that we are hitting targets. So generally, what I promise the Liberian people is that there will be times that things will get temporarily difficult. Like when you're in a plane going to a destination, no pilot tells you that there will be no turbulence. But good pilots will tell you that tighten the seatbelt at this point, but they will definitely navigate the plane, pilot the plane to destination. That's what is happening. There are a lot of indicators of progress. So we cannot say we've reached heaven, but we're not where we were. Yes, cannot even be evaluated through rates. If you go back in the 80s, you go back in the 70s, so there will always be, inflation is always happening. things will slide a little bit, but general economic activities improve. Because even when we talk about the rate, there are folks that benefit from rates. It's not everyone that is on the losing side of rates. Some people even want to pray for rates to go up because they earn better.
At the same time, the finance ministers issued a stern warning to former finance minister Samuel Todd over what he termed smear campaign against him regarding the COVID-19 relief funds provided by the World Food Program. He challenged the former finance minister to produce documentary evidence linking him to the alleged misappropriation of COVID-19 funds.
25 million of the money that was gotten from the IMF was given to WFP to implement this COVID-19 food distribution program. At the end of the day, the WFP, all of them, the COVID-19 committee, steering committee, reported that some money, in terms of the distribution across the country, they had, I think, a 1.1 million remaining, and they agreed. Listen to this: the steering committee that Mr. Tua was a member of agreed that the money be directed to something called the Homegrown School Feeding Program.
Is that documented?
It's documented.
Do you have the documentation?
Yes. That committee agreed. And let me say this. I didn't come to the Ministry of Finance with this sense of being, I didn't come with a party perspective. I came with a national perspective. So I wouldn't look out of far something that is done by the CDC government that was appropriate and take this default position once the CDC. No, to target the Homegrown School Feeding Program. The money came for food. The money, the 25 million the IMF and to the government was for food. They were not diverting the money. They were using the money for food on whom? Children, targeting children of this country. Mr. Tua was part of that committee. I inherited that decision. The WFP came to follow up with my predecessor, Brrom Kamara, but that didn't get consummated until he left. They came to follow up. When I reviewed the decision taken by Tua and others, I said that was a good decision. Do what the CDC government proposed. They tried to create this atmosphere of thievery around Makari. I confirmed the reallocation of the fund as proposed by him. Let Mr. Tua, there's a challenge. Let him come and say that he disagreed with the COVID steering committee of which he was a member.
Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gaffon, dozens of Liberians in different parts of the country have expressed strong rejection of the Ministry of Health proposed service fees at public health facilities. Recently, the Ministry of Health announced the government's proposed policy which required payments for services at public health facilities across the country. The government proposal titled Community Revolving Drug Fund and Cost Sharing Scheme require patients, including old folks and babies, to pay fees for medical services provided at government-run health centers. Liberians who express opposition to the new policy describe it as unfair, pointing out severe economic challenges citizens are faced with, adding that the new fees at government-run health facilities is a means of denying poor Liberians health care service.
Those who are in the zero, if they are sick and they carry their patients to the hospital, it is 500. They're not even able to afford the first 2 couple of rest. So if you not pay the 500, they'll be sending that patient back. That patient will finally die.
How many people can afford that amount to go to the hospital for services? So I truly do believe that government has to rethink. There are too many controversial decisions government is taking that is not making any impact on the lives of the people. So we want to use this medium to caution those in the health area, the Minister of Health, to see reaching that. Yes.
See, the government need to be serious. The Minister of Health need to know the economic and need to know the problem of our people. You have people who live in below $1 a day, and then you're asking them to pay $500 to sleep in a government hospital. It means you want to end the level of people very short. It makes no sense to say $500 to sleep in a government hospital. Now, if they want fees to be attached, it should be fees for medication only, not for.
Yeah, seriously, for me, I don't see it to be important right now because this is not the time. Let me say this: Liberia is a country that we are struggling. Like you said, people depending on 50 LD for survivability per day. So for me, I don't think this is the time that the government
government should be putting the kind of policy into place because you have a country that 95% of the populations are not working. Then you put in the kind of policies into place, meaning you also want to damage the hope of the people. What happened to the old man where is Zamatan, Balakba, Bugwe, all the places that will get sick from that place on a critical condition? We don't even have food. So there are a lot of places they don't even have money to even live on a good shelter. Let's be honest. But that person will not want to come here because why? The person don't want shame. Our people, we know them, they don't let shame.
They're not a rescue mission now. They to kill our people then because if we no policy or it will be powerful. Because you look at some people and they not get father to eat there to cry every day money and say go and pay for services. We'll tell the public let you take that one from a heart.
To get back to the government is not a crime, it's not anything. But the money I listen to all the police, the hospital, the state and the rest. The money is too much. And that makes. But I'm look at the president was 500 for others. Why they put it to 1,005? This sponsor no drop is in the sponsor to get right now. It's not very serious.
Liberians there expressing strong rejection of the Ministry of Health proposed service fees at public facilities. A reminder you're listening to King's Newsbone 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Service following this afternoon's 10 and several other civil society organizations staged enough protest in Monrovia. Huge number of protesters amidst 10 security measures and police barricades of major areas. Former ruling party Congress for Democratic Change warns against police brutality. CDC National Chairman Anthony Law Jangaku expresses lack of confidence in the Liberia National Police, calls for immediate dismissal of police RG Gregory Coleman. Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gafwan says there will be a time that things will get very difficult in Liberia due to huge economic challenges as he acknowledges inflation. Away from home, the United States has deported 5 people who were described as criminal alien or illegal aliens to the southern African kingdom of Eswatini. Republicans in the U.S. Senate have said they will spare the U.S.-backed HIV/AIDS program, PEPFAR, from curbs amid a larger effort to reduce government spending. Break to be our more voices. Welcome back and thanks for being there. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has announced plans to construct 8 agricultural marginalization centers across the country as part of efforts to boost the agricultural sector. A marginalization center focuses on providing farmers with access to machinery and related services to improve agricultural productivity. Making a disclosure in Tottenham, Brrom County during the celebration of International Cooperative Day, Deputy Minister for Planning and Development at the Ministry of Agriculture, David Akwe, said 5 counties have been selected to initially benefit from the construction of the mechanization centers.
Either the end of this month or the beginning of next month, the government will be bringing agricultural machines. Heard that. So the government is going to be building 8 mechanization centers, 2 in Lofa County, 2 in Nimba, 2 in Bon County, 1 in Magibi, 1 in Mosarado. These hubs will be having different kinds of machines, starting with tractors that will be helping to plow the land that you have, going to these going to harvester, going to all the little machines that we can think about to make farming work easier, right? So if we have these kind of machines and we put 2 people into groups that cooperate, and we identify maybe 50 hectares of land or 125 acres of land, we identify them. Then we take these machines, we go on your farm, we lay out your farm, we give you the inputs, you plant. Don't you think we will be able to actually generate more than when we do it individually? Don't you think so? So this is why we are joining the CDA today, to say we will continue to get this message to all of our farmers, all of our farming groups, to say it is better that we work in group than to work as individual farmers. If you're doing your little farm behind your house or whatsoever, it's good to be a part of a group.
Deputy Minister for Planning and Development at the Ministry of Agriculture, David Akwe, there speaking. The House of Representatives has ratified the protocol on the establishment of the African Court of Justice and Human Rights. House Speaker Rachel Cohn disclosed that the instrument has been forwarded to the Liberian Senate for concurrence and subsequent approval by President Joseph Boakai. He made a disclosure at the opening of a one-day dialogue of state and non-state actors on the promotion of the ratification of the protocol of the African Code on Human and People's Rights in Monrovia on Wednesday.
I'm honored to join you at this important national dialogue on the ratification of the protocol to the African Code on Human and People's Rights. At the time called for advancement of justice, accountability, the rule of law in Brrom is so loud. This code is a crucial continental judicial organ intended to protect and promote human rights in Africa. Evidently, the African Code serves as a vital mechanism for safeguarding justice and human dignity across the continent. Therefore, the legislature welcomed this opportunity to engage in dialogue with key stakeholders to collectively reflect on the implementation and benefits of ratifying this mechanism. At the time I received this invitation, I quickly checked for the protocol. It might amaze you that the protocol been in our committee room for the past 1 year. As you may be aware, in June 2024, His Excellency President Joseph Newman Berger submitted a communication to the legislature requesting ratification of the protocol to enable Liberia's full participation in the African Court and recognizes its jurisdiction to hear individual complaints. The legislature immediately at the time welcomed the gesture and has since deliberated the bill on the floor and it was still in committee room as of the time I received this invitation. It might amaze you that upon receiving the invitation, I quickly called the Human Rights Committee, including the Committee of Judiciary, to quickly make a report with all of the deliberation done so far.
Remarking during the program, Chairman of the Independent National Commission on Human Rights, Councillor Dempster Brown reaffirmed the Commission's commitment in the defense of human rights at the national and continental levels. A group under the banner Liberia Independent Elders Council for Peace and Reconciliation are called on organizers and participants of the July 17 protest to uphold the principles of democracy by balancing the right to free expression with a sense of national responsibility. Speaking to journalists in Benzo, the Council Secretary General Edwin Gbagbo acknowledged the constitutional rights of citizens to protest but urged the demonstrators to ensure that their actions do not infringe on the rights and freedom of others.
Fellow Liberians, as the Independent Elders Council for Peace and Reconciliation, we recognize and uphold the constitutional right of all citizens to peacefully assemble and express their views, as enshrined in Article 17 of our Constitution. The planned protest on July 17 is a legitimate exercise of this democratic right, and we encourage all participants to do so peacefully, lawfully, and with respect to the rights of others. At the same time, we remind our fellow citizens that Liberia's peace and stability depend on mutual respect and tolerance. While protesters have the right to demonstrate, other citizens also have the right to free movement and the freedom to go around their daily life without obstruction or intimidation. Urge protesters to ensure that actions do not infringe on these rights as true democracy balances expression action without responsibility. To the Liberian National Police, we call on you to protect all citizens, both those exercising the right to protest and those choosing not to participate.
Away from Liberia, the U.S. has deported 5 people who it described as criminal illegal aliens to the southern African kingdom of Eswatini. On board the flight were 5 deportees from Vietnam, Jamaica, Lords, Cuba, and Yemen, who have been convicted of crimes ranging from child rape to murder. U.S. Homeland Security Department Assistant Secretary said in an online post. This flight took individuals so uniquely barbaric that their home countries refused to take them back. And Republicans in the U.S. Senate have said they will spare the U.S.-backed HIV/AIDS program PEPFAR from cuts amid a larger effort to reduce government spending. Senators said they would end a plan to cut $400 million from the president's emergency plan for AIDS relief program, leaving total proposed cuts at $9 billion. The proposition was made in a Senate amendment to a resection package, meaning a bill that allows lawmakers to cancel previous funding approved by Congress. The planned cancellations also include funds for international aid and public broadcasting. Well, on that note, that's how we come to the near end of this edition of King's Newsroom. But before we leave, a quick reminder of stories we followed in the headlines. STEM and several other civil society organizations staged enough is enough protests in Monrovia, with huge number of protesters amidst tense security measures and police barricade of major areas. Former ruling party Congress for Democratic Change warns against police brutality. CDC National Chairman Antonia Lord Chandaku expresses lack of confidence in the Liberian National Police, calls for immediate dismissal of police RG record. We also heard in the news financing development and Minister Augustine Gafuan says there will be a time that things will get very difficult in Liberia due to huge economic challenges as he acknowledges inflation. Away from home, the United States has deported 5 people who it described as criminal illegal aliens to the southern African kingdom of Eswatini. Republicans in the U.S. Senate have said they will spare the U.S.-backed HIV/AIDS program PEPFAR from cuts and made larger effort to reduce government spending. Many thanks to our reporters, correspondents, and all those who helped in making this edition of King's Newsroom Sources. Sam Andrews sat at control and brought you the news bulletin. On behalf of the team, I'm Sherman Dale. I present you. Thanks for listening and watching the Keep On.